Hello, my dear, from wherever you're currently watching from. Same place, different time. And normally I post every day. So the last 2 days I haven't been posting because my body was taking some time for itself, himself, herself. I'm not too sure about the body, but actually I needed to take some time for my body. That's how I'm going to word it. And I thought that today would be a great moment to talk about the body and also the needs of our body. Because you know what they say, that we have so many wishes, but when you're not healthy and you don't feel good, there's only one wish you have. So before getting to that stage that it's that your body really needs to get some time off, there are actually some things that I'm intrigued to talk with you about today in this video. So the body has a lot of different signs and messages that we receive on a day-to-day basis that sometimes it's hard for us to understand. So one topic that comes to my mind directly when I talk about that is the topic of stability. Stability in our bodies can be noticed, especially through our feet and our knees. So whenever you feel that you have pain in those areas, or something is not working quite as it should or quite as it was before, maybe the topic around that could be around the stability in your current circumstances, in your current life. And you could ask yourself, by focusing on those areas in your body, you could ask yourself internally, how would the topic of stability reflect in your life, or where it's maybe currently lacking? And knowing that, you can also think about how can you provide more stability to yourself by working with your body, right? So by providing more stability to your feet, exercises specialized for the knees can help you actually to also in focus that stability from different angles. Another big thing is the topic around flexibility. Flexibility has a lot to do with the spine. So in yoga, we say that when your spine is very flexible, you will get very old. And I believe that this comes originally from India, and a lot was basically taken from a lot of different cultures, but most of them from Indian areas, and brought to the Western countries. So, for example, through Ayurveda or other Indian touched ideas. So that idea of having a flexible spine and being flexible in life also means adaptability. So working with your spine can actually help you to get more flexible in your day-to-day too. So whenever you feel that you're not so flexible as you would like to be, maybe you tend to get stubborn, maybe you just don't know any other options for a specific situation, you can work with your spine. You can do specialized exercises with your spine in order to help you in the question around flexibility. And then a big one, especially for me in the last weeks, even month, is the topic of letting go, to release. This topic is pretty much, especially for women, it it is very much based in our hips. So dancing can be, for example, a really good exercise in order to not only release certain emotional aspects, topics, issues, but it can also help you to, it really connects you deeply with your emotions at the same time, which is awesome. At the same time, if you work with your hips, you might experience especially that it could happen that you maybe start to cry, or that you feel more sensible, more emotional than usual, which is totally fine. And it just basically means that you're releasing. So working with your hips can be great. And if you think about it, working with your hips also helps with the spine. So it also gets more flexibility. And so hips are, you can just look at that aspect, looking at your hips and then asking yourself, what can you release? What wants to be released? And if you have difficulties with that, try to work especially with the hips area to help you to release emotions. I also feel that for me personally, it helps me to sometimes know exactly what to release. Because sometimes we just feel like, or maybe you feel the same, but for me it's like that. Sometimes I just feel that I want to release a certain thing, a certain thought, but it's not so clear to me as to what I'm holding on. Because in my mind, I have released it, when in fact, my hips are telling me that I haven't. So, in order by myself working with my hips, and then I start to get emotional, I could then understand and see what exactly needs to be released. So it can basically also can be a great access to an emotional state that you haven't figured out until that point. Another and pretty much final thing that I wanted to share with you is about the topic of stillness, or maybe not so much stillness, but more kind of a stagnancy. So whenever stagnancy is in your life, in whatever kind of area or whatever kind of area, what can help with that is to get moving. And that sounds pretty easy, right? So if you think about, you feel stagnant, just move. Go outside, stay inside even if you want, but just move your body, move to the music, move to rhythms. What really helps me is to move according to drums. That can be great. And also drums have a very nice tact. How do you say that? Tact? So a very nice rhythm. So you can use drums that have a really continuous, slow rhythm, but you can push that and you can go quicker and faster. And so drums can be great, but whatever basically your preference is at this point, it doesn't really matter. I just felt like, to me, when I move, especially working with my body, I try to use music that has no lyrics in it, because it really helps me to focus on certain areas or certain even emotions that I want to face at that moment. So using the body really as a tool, or as a mechanism to help you to focus, is basically enough. So any other thing like lyrics or deep meanings to songs would just distract me from that. So that is another thought that came to my mind just now when I talk about it. And generally, I would like to invite you to do more of your own research in order to find out what your body tries to tell you. There are tons and tons more topics that I could share. But basically, just in a nutshell, basically, the gut is also very important. So basically, the digestive system, the gut, the stomach, everything around that area is basically considered as our emotional brain. So that could be also useful, helpful, in case that might be resonating with you. And also another thing that comes up pretty frequently that I noticed around in my environment, at least, is the jaw. So basically, the jaw being connected to a lot of times to headaches. So whenever we have the feeling or the necessity of biting something or stating our point and be very determined to get something to get something done, or to really bite into it until it's done. If you have a tendency to do that, it can also mean that, or it could reflect as a headache too. So the head and the gut area, the head and the jaw area are very much connected. So it's a great way also to start thinking about, from an emotional perspective, where can you also release maybe a little bit of that pressure, and by that also releasing pressure around your head and neck area too. So that was that for the video. And I think every once in a while, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, our body tries to communicate with us and wants to let us know what we should be focusing on. Not so much because, but basically with the goal to help us throughout our day-to-day. So once we get those messages, and once we understand our language better, our own body language better, we can also it can become easier to work with the body, hand in hand. And so basically, I want to invite you to get curious, and to just research more about that, because to me, I believe it's very valuable. So hopefully there's something in it for you too. And if you have found that message helpful, or it resonated with you in some aspects, I would appreciate if you leave me a like, or a comment. I appreciate you anyways, even if you don't do it. And I'll see you in the next one.